Have you ever felt both tired, exhausted, both emotionally and physically, where you felt like you just had nothing left to give? Well, if that's the case, today's episode is for you, looking at the significance of giving ourselves a break throughout different seasons of our life and the things that are involved that can often hold us back from giving ourselves the rest and the recharge that we need. I recently started thinking about how, as human beings, we can be really hard on ourselves, where we can have expectations that are so often unrealistic, and we can find ourselves in places that we don't need to be, that were unnecessary to venture down in terms of where we are both emotionally and physically. And I think back to this past year where I've had many different changes in my life with moving, in terms of my job, working from home, homeschooling my son, and a bazillion other things. And at times it has been really hard to navigate and allowing myself time to breathe, time to recharge, time to say, you know what, right now doing this is a little bit too much and it's not healthy. And if you've ever been in that place before, I want to break a few things down for you and looking at where do we go from here? How do we guard ourselves? How do we do what we need to do in life with giving ourselves permission to take a break when we need that? So the first thing when it comes to taking a break, it's allowing ourselves to take a deep breath, because we live in a society that's very driven, that has expectations of go, 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 achieve, achieve, achieve. And I believe in rocking out our life to our fullest ability. But that doesn't mean going 1,000 miles an hour, 365 days out of the year. It's unrealistic. It's unfair, and it's not how we were intended to live. We often see this very false illusion of other people's level of productivity. It's on social media platforms where we're seeing a very brief snippet of what they want presented to us in terms of their levels of achievement and going at all hours of the day. Well, that's not you, and that's not me, and more than likely that's not them. And I'm not here to judge anybody, but what I am here to say is we can sometimes place unrealistic expectations on ourselves. Relax, and it's very hard. Relaxing is something that I struggle with, right? I have to force myself to do it. And with that, the first thing I want to look at today is the aspect of when we know we're getting towards, or we are in a time that we need to chill out and recharge. The first is not feeling guilty about it. I'm going to give you some examples for me personally. I took a few weeks off with podcasting. I was just at a place that I needed some downtime. I'm actually going to be doing it again for a chunk of the summer. I know in terms of my level of productivity and where I'm at right now as a human being, what I can do and what I just need to kind of chill out a little bit. The world's not going to end if I take a pause with my podcast. And sometimes we can kind of put that in our head that we're like, what's going to happen? Well, what is the worst thing that's going to happen if A, B, or C are kind of diluted a little bit, if you call it that, or you just give it a break? And with that, it's putting up these boundaries of saying, right now, I need a break. Right now, I'm going to be back, I'm going to recharged, but I need a break. And that really moves us into number 2, where your self-worth has not changed at all because you're taking a break. And sometimes we can find our sense of worth and our significance in titles. We can feel less valuable. We can feel this sense of guilt combined with, my worth just isn't what it used to be. Well, yes, it is. Your worth is absolutely the same. Your title in terms of whatever your degree is, to, what kind of car you own or what you do for a living, and good on you for whatever that is. But your titles don't define you. It's inside here, right? And that's when we kind of veer away and we've gotten distracted and we're just so caught up in these titles, right? Because it's like, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. Well, you're you. And maybe that time, I believe, in this season of just chilling out a little bit, whether that's a few days, a few weeks, a few months, and your worth is not diminished in any way through that process. And it's reminding yourself, my worth is not diminished. I'm valuable. I'm awesome, right? There's 7.7 billion plus people on the planet. There's only been one you. There will only ever be one you. How awesome is that, man? And you are valuable no matter what title you hold, no matter what position you have in society or your home. You're you. And knowing and allowing yourself permission that in all things, my self-worth has not been diluted. And so this moves us to number 3, the aspect of filling up, recharging, and getting to be where we need to be at different stages in our life. Like, it's really, this is so important, being in tune with our bodies, being in tune with our mind, and knowing there are times that we need to chill out. And this can kind of be evoked a little bit or triggered when we experience a loss. That could be somebody that we care about. That could be losing a job. That could be losing, in terms of a relationship shift. You will have different seasons in your life. Again, your worth you should not let those thoughts get in your mind where it sneaks in there and your worth is feeling diluted or you're feeling guilty. And knowing this, so I'm gonna ask you this. If you have ever vacuumed, right? I would say 99.9% of us have, and you vacuum, you do your room, you're like, boop, 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 right? Well, what if you kept that vacuum cleaner on and you went to the next room, you went to the next room, and you went to the next room, and you didn't unplug it for 24 hours? What would happen? Well, first of all, that stuff, right, that the bag you have to empty or the container would be full and maxed out, and the motor on your vacuum would just be hot, if not kind of imploding, if you will. Well, that's the same, like if that's a vacuum cleaner, right, that you could get at Target or Kohl's, right, with a discount. What about us as human beings? We accrue stuff internally. We get anxious, we get overwhelmed, we get just feeling blah. And this is where it's time to empty that container out and shake it really good, man. And just allow ourselves to turn that motor off. Whatever it is to you, maybe it's been a while since you've done that. What is it that fills your cup? Taking time in prayer, breathing deeply, doing yoga, reading the Bible, taking time to just recharge your heart, mind, and soul. It's about living your best life and going at warp speed on a weekly, daily, monthly, yearly basis just gets us in a place where we're digging a ditch that's deeper and deeper for us emotionally and physically. We need, as human beings, I do not care who you are, we need time to rest. And with depending on where you're at in life, sometimes we can be really brutal to ourselves and thinking, I don't deserve it, I don't have time for it, if I do it, we guilt the heck out of ourselves. And those are really toxic levels of thinking. And if that's maybe where you've been or where you are currently, it's taking time to kind of reassemble those building blocks of where you need to be. And it's a journey. Instead of kicking ourselves and beating ourselves up to think, oh my gosh, all this lost time, oh my gosh, all the things I've done wrong. False. It's allowing yourself to say, you know what, life's about living, life's about learning. We're foolish when we've heard information and we know it's for our best interest and it can help us grow, but we block it out, we don't do anything with it. So we can do with it. Where do you start? And it's starting today. All right, it's taking time. I know, you know what, I'm not in a good place. Well, what are 3 or 4 things that bring you joy? Write them down. They need to start being implemented in your life. And working around with where you're at, okay? If you're working full time, you come home, you have like 3 hours of like, we'll say downtime, if you even call it that, a day. Well, in the car, it's listening to music that's uplifting and positive, or maybe a podcast. You can make excuses, I don't have time. Well, even if it's slivers of time, you have time. You have time. Like if the president can make time, right, to go for a run, and it's a part of their lifestyle, well, I most certainly can do the same thing. Then we're like, why am I so snippy? Why am I so tired? Why do I feel like I could totally take a nap for hours and hours and hours? Our bodies are telling us something, man. So with that, things to consider, making a map, mapping it out, and going forward. And as to ask questions, life is a pursuit of learning, and it's a journey. And when we stop asking questions, when we resist growth, we're not in a good place. And if you're looking for ways to continue your growth, for you to continue on this pursuit of keeping a full cup in your mental wellness, I'd love you for you to check out further videos on the Goodness Chick channel and give it a big thumbs up and subscribe, my friends. Wishing you a tremendous amount of peace, love, and goodness.